Career Path Tips from a Distinguished Professor. Today we are here with Curtin, Distinguished Professor Ian Phau. Hello Ian, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Thaichon, for inviting me for this little talk or little chat, that you're organizing.
Thank you so much for being here. And as one of my mentors, I'm very privileged to have you here. So the first question I'd like to throw to you as a discussion is, what are some of the tips for a successful promotion in academic?
I have some thoughts about this question, and I'm not sure how best I can answer it because I think you and I know that for different institutions, there are different expectations. For some, they are likely, to work on one area more than another. So there's something that we have to keep in mind. And also, I guess it depends, on the specific career path, that each academic is looking at. So, for instance, right, are you looking for a more teaching only, kind, of career path rather, than a research and teaching, and so on. So, I mean, to put that into some form of perspective, my reflection, of this, based on my years, of work, in the academic world, so to speak, is really to ensure, that you have got a balance, of the three key areas. So the research side, whereby you need, to have a flow, of scholarship, right, in terms, of publications, journals, conference papers to a certain extent, because you do need that. And then you have got a good teaching trajectory, all right. And then, of course, all right, the last part is that I guess, all right, as an important part is about leadership. So in terms of service, whether it is internal or external, I think there needs to be a balance. But I guess the right game to play really is to try, to build a sort of a profile for yourself, in an area that you feel, that you are passionate about, and ensure, that the three parts, the three pathways, so to speak, in terms of research, in terms, of your teaching, if you have got a choice, of choosing the units that you want to, to teach, on, and then and hopefully, from the leadership and service, point of view, you can also reflect, the first two. So I think in general, I would say that, but it very much depends, on the institutions that you are in, and also the role, that you have. Yes. And just to expand a little bit, on that, I will also say, that it will depend, on the availability, of leadership positions, in your school, in your faculty, or in the university wide. So so I think for many young academics, or even mid-career academics, you would have to look out, for such positions and put it ahead, whenever there's some availability, and then you build, from there, or create your own. So that will be what I would say. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Ian. I think that is a very good overview in terms of it's best to balance ourselves in terms of teaching, research, and service. Depend on the work profile that we want to. I just want to explore a little bit in terms of, there might be some people who might start as a teaching focus or a research focus. Will it be difficult to change from a teaching focus to a balance that you have seen in the past?
That's where you need to learn how to negotiate, all right, with your with your head of school or your head of department. But I guess, in terms of progression, I feel, that it is possible. There's still a potential, for it. And don't forget, that over, a period of time, you always want to challenge yourself, in a certain way. So for a moment in time, it could be, family issues, you have that at this particular point in time, you've got a young family, you want to just focus, more on the teaching side. And then, you'll probably be only doing a teaching focus, kind of position. But as time goes by, and you may, I mean, the thing is this, even if you're going to do a teaching position, so to speak, you still can continue, to work on Assoc, on things, whereby your research is based, on teaching techniques, and things along, the line. So I think it still can be done. But I guess your question really is that, can you just move, from one, to the other? This is whereby you need your 3-year plan, 5-year plan, and to ensure, that in your career conversation, different university, I'm sure you have got your own management team that looks into that you have got to do some kind of projection of what you intend, to do. So, and this is a little bit outside, of what I would suggest, from the university point of view. Even though you're in a teaching focus, position, there's nothing to stop you from doing your own research and do your own publications, and building your own profile from there. And where maybe, under that circumstance, when you can show some evidence, of it, is easier for you to negotiate, a shift, to research and teaching.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I also can relate myself, because when I first started my career, it was a teaching focus as well. And it was about 60%, which is very high in terms of teaching load. But I had a chance to have a chat with you, plan on a strategy of 3-4 years plan. And
Oh,
then,
did I? I can't even remember that.
there. Yes, so that's pretty good. And you also touched a very good point in terms of build your brand image, have brand identity in one of the good one research area. So that is quite consistent with some other expert that we have a chat earlier on. Now, I have one follow-up question that because you touched a very interesting point about service role and leadership role. Are there any so-called useful service role that will help your career development and not kind of hold you down?
No, I think it's good, to try out, different roles. Okay, let me put it this way, all right? I guess, from the academics point of view, we seem to sit back and then start to complain, if I can use the word, that, this is not happening, that is not happening, I asked for this and this was not, I was not given the opportunity and things like that. I guess that many of our colleagues who have not been in that particular role or in that particular department, they are not aware, of some of the challenges that they feel. All right. So for many leaders, all right, or executive teams and things like that, all right, they do also have their KPIs, so to speak. Many things, that you wish, that you want to do or you want to make changes or things like that, but that may not be congruent, all right, or doesn't sit, with the priorities, of the, of the faculty or the university, at large. So that is whereby when you sit for such roles, and then you will start to understand what are the challenges that they're feeling, and I guess that you have a better understanding, or rather that you feel, for this, for these leaders. So I guess, all right, to instead of just complaining, oh, this is not happening, why not make things happen? And maybe, you should even try, to sort of enlarge, your portfolio, all right, and to learn, to learn what are the things, that is expected, for all these, different roles, to have a better understanding, of how, the university, work. I think this may not be exactly, the question, that you're asking, all right, but I guess, all right, one of the things that we fail, to understand is that we always looked at an academic institution as a standalone. It is different, from the private sector and things like that. My experience will tell you is exactly the same. All right. If not, academic probably is a bit worse. All right, a bit more challenging, in the sense that we do have very smart people, around us. Yes. And everybody is asking for their rights, or things like that. But what I think they fail to understand is that we all need to work together as a team, to sort of move, the priorities, of the, of the university. So I think this is one thing that I feel, that our colleagues should learn to understand. And the best way to understand it is to try different roles, and no matter how small it is, all right. it's always good, to have an understanding, of how the system works. And I can tell you that every university is different, all right? Every institution is different.
Yes, thank you so much for the story there. And I think it's quite important to, try different role to get to explore some new skill, opportunity, and networking and all sorts of things there. If you touch back in terms of the promotion, there used to be a saying that there might be some easy way for you to get promotion, such as get lots of grants and do lots of papers. Are this type of thing true, or we should do all KPI that is relevant to the school, what they need and want?
I guess, all right, that when you're going, for a promotion, and once again, I reiterate, that every institution is different, but most of them will not be that different. All right. I mean, I sit in a number of took up the position in an external reviewer for higher positions. And I think the few areas that they will focus on are quite similar, in that sense. Instead of actually complaining, that I didn't get promoted because of this and that and things like that, I think you should reflect, on your own portfolio. So and things doesn't happen overnight, So I guess that you have got to have a strong trajectory, over a period of time. I mean, you and I, or our colleagues should know that we plan to have 3 papers published, in 2024. May not happen, all right, because of a number of situations. It could be that the journal comes back to you late and things like that. And sometimes, even if it's accepted, they have not been scheduled for that particular year. So I guess, right, this is whereby I think is that you really have got to have not just a portfolio, per se that you plan, but you need to have a sort of a carousel, of movements, of your different, scholarship stuff that you would put, across. And there's one other thing, all right. I'm not sure whether this works well, with many institutions or not. We all understand, that grants are precious. It's a luxury. You apply, you may not get it, but I guess at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong, in putting in your application that you have tried, that particular grant. You may not have gotten it, but people forget, that it's a long process. A lot of effort has been put into, that grant application, and I mean, what 20%, 30%, of it, will be accepted. So I guess, from a younger colleagues' point of view, I guess that you also should go for different grants. Yes, it's very important for you to look for competitive grants, but what about other smaller industry grants? Because it does show output, as well. So it goes back to the point, whereby you still have got that the need, for you to have that you have got different touch points. You have got your publications, you have got your teaching, and you have got your surveys. And the teaching part, all right, would also be whereby you need to build. I guess, in your application, you still need to show evidence, that you are a good teacher, so to speak. All right. So yes, don't. I think I always use the word shameless. From time to time. Is that you try. You should apply. For all the teaching awards. And don't be embarrassed. In any way. All right. That you should ask for feedback. From your students. As well. And I guess, all right, that you should also keep, a sort of a diary box, for you. And sometimes, when students, do write you a nice email, say, oh, thank you, for this semester, all right, you opened my eyes, to this and that, you've been a good, mentor or lecturer, for me, and things, like that, all right. These are the unsolicited, kind of feedback that you get. I guess that this probably will make, better sense, as compared, to an award. Because award, again, all right, that that it depends on how well you have written, that application. So I guess, this is whereby you need to have, to fill up, all the gaps, and then you present in the best light. Following on this, all right, I would also suggest that for promotions, all right. Now you ask for tips, all right. I'm not sure whether there are actually tips or not, from as in to do a shortcut, so to speak, because at the end of the day, it is still your own portfolio, what you have achieved over this period of time. But one thing I want to add is that I find, through my experience, with the university, is that many of our colleagues may not want, to put in an application until they feel that they are ready. My issue is that I don't think that's the best time. I think that the fact that you have got to put in an application is a long process. And while you are putting an application early, if you want to have some tips, the best tip is to do it. If you know your promotion rounds in September, for instance, you really should be starting at the beginning of the year. And you have to get, sort of support, from your head of department or head of school, and you start to look at all the criteria, and then you start filling in, whatever you need to have sort of a draft, on that. And that is whereby it's a very good audit for yourself, to find out that what am I weak at, what are the things that I'm missing, and so on. If you didn't go through that round, you may be looking for, the following year or for, another round, for that. And under, from that point, of view, you will be more likely, to feel that, whether you're ready, or not. There's another thing that I really want to highlight, is that when you go from one level to the next level, for example, from your B to C, C to D, D to E, and so on, there is a sort of a time frame. All right. So if, for instance, if you're going from a B to a C, all right, so there's certain expectation, all right, from your own institution. I've come across many colleagues that, I don't think I can make it this round. So I'll wait for another year. All right. And then you accumulate, suddenly there is a very fruitful year. All right. So you accumulated, a lot of big grants, and things, like that. But in a way, you have exceeded the expectation of a C. It really should be a D. But the institution is not going to give you a D from a B unless you actually apply, for it. So I'm not sure whether it's a cheat sheet, so to speak, for that. But if you have exceeded, the expectation for the next round from a C to a D, because you can't use, your
yes,
those things. Yeah, correct. For that. So this is whereby, if you want to ask, for a tip, this is whereby you have got to try early. Don't wait, for too long, for that, because personally, on my personal experience is that I have got at least I've got a few colleagues, in my institution, whereby when I was looking at the application, I realized, that they sort of shortchange, themselves on that. So I guess this is the tip that I would
made a very
suggest.
good point. Yes. Sorry about that, but you have made a few good point there. Especially when you talk about planning in advance, know your criteria. For example, let's say if you want to apply for job promotion, understand those criteria first, talk to all of the dean that you need to support, get their support. Or in some instance, let's say if you're a PhD student and want to get your first job, you could try to apply before you actually ready, so you can see the selection criteria. The early.
But I guess, Thaichon, there's also another thing, is that go for all the interviews. I mean, you may not even be shortlisted, but if you are shortlisted, and you feel, that you may not even have a good chance, of it, all right. But don't be afraid to go, because I think that you need to practice. All right, how to answer questions, during an interview, and also and to get your nerves, right, so to speak. All right. I think after a few trials, and so on and so forth, what to expect, what are the questions that they're going to ask. Because I think many a time, when you go for an interview, is after the interview they say, I should have said this, I should have said that, and so on and so forth. And that is really because there's a lack of experience. And I can tell you, that the interview process changes, through the years, as well. Other people are looking for different things, and so on and so forth. I come across now many. I'm not even sure if the university is going to follow that format. I've come across, many. As I said, I sit in a number of boards, from the external institutions or external bodies, right? The interviews now are being done in such a way whereby you record yourself, on your iPhone or whatever with a set of questions, and then of course the good thing about it is you can do editing, and so on and so forth. But that is a way in which the committee can judge you, on your other skill set, rather than just talking. And then they once you are shortlisted, from then they do a full interview again. So I'm not sure. I think that even trying that, by speaking, on a screen, and recording it, and then going back, to look at what you have said and what you have done, it may be a good learning tool.
Yeah, I think that is a very good example. I have seen that specific, the one that apply job online, and then there is like a 5 minutes clip that you have to record for 2 or 3 questions. I have tried some of those myself, and I find that if you're not prepared, it's actually gonna be very bad if you're not prepared beforehand. So it's a very good there.
Yeah, but the good thing is that because when you go for an interview, you are not able to see yourself, because probably after you walked out of the interview, it's a blur. What's happening, you will not even know. But if it is recorded, you can reflect, on that, and then one of the things that probably that we are not even aware of is our own body language, and this body language may I don't know. I mean, from the committee's point of view, right? They may see you in different light, and it's not natural. So I guess the important thing is that you have got to be very natural in your interview as well.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. Now I have 2 last questions. One of them, which we barely talk about it, in our day, which is the strategy to select referee. Is that gonna count, or is it important to select who will be our referee for promotion?
I do not know how best to answer that question, because I guess, all right, that it really depends, on, once again, all right, the committee or the different institution. I know some of them. I've done some, all right, mainly outside of Australia, and they pay a lot of attention on the referee. I sometimes feel that I'm the one being interviewed and not, the interviewee, because so if I'm a referee, for a particular, a person going for promotion or a job of some kind, they schedule. I just did. I recently did one, for a U.S. university, for a good colleague of mine, and they schedule a Zoom interview like this, and I spent about 1.5 hours to talk about this particular, but they spent a lot of, I guess that the questions that were asked, of the applicant, and I asked was, could be almost identical, because I think they are doing some fact checking, and so on. So under that circumstance, all right, then when you choose a referee, I think that is very, very important. I've also come across, all right, other, there's more Australian based, all right, whereby I am a referee for the application, for the applicant. And when the applicant is already sort of picked, and I am just going to finish, to answer 5 questions on an email, to say whether this is the case, or not. And I think that is what they call a reference check. So is it important? We do not know. All right, what is the what is the aim, of having that reference? That referee, for that particular job. So under that circumstance, I think to play it safe, it is very important that you need to choose a referee who actually knows you, well.
Mm.
And in that respect, I think that the person that you choose, the referee, you definitely must have some, I mean, I'm not sure even dealings is the right way to do it. It could be, again, all right. Also, when you choose this, you usually ask to put in maybe 2 or 3 referees, email addresses and names and things like that. It may be a good plan or a good initiative to actually choose one, that can speak on your research. It could be that you have collaborated with this particular person. For example, I'm an editor of a journal that, and this applicant, may have submitted some papers, may have done some reviews, for me, chair some sessions, and things like that. I guess, that would be good, but you should also choose someone who can speak on behalf of your teaching capability. So I think to spread it out, to ensure that you can cover it. But the important thing, obviously, is that do not take a referee, just, off the, off the books, by saying that, all right, oh, you're a big name, then I get this person, it will help me. But if you do not have experience with this person, the person can't speak for you. So I think, and this person, and also, and this is maybe you're asking for tips, right? Maybe this is one big tip that I should give to you, and because I request for it all the time. So when someone actually asks me to be a referee, for a job application, so the first thing I ask for is, can you please send me your application, and I want to see exactly what the criteria is for a particular job, and then what I will do is that I'll speak on those criteria, right? Because otherwise I'll be in a I have no idea, what the job is about.
Exactly.
All right, and I can speak, on behalf, of that particular person. Yeah.
Yes, I think that is a very important tips, and also you actually answer my second question that I have as well. So just to summarize there, referee is very important, and also we should work, or at least get to know your referee way beforehand, and then prepare well with your referee before you just submit an application, not just looking up the internet and then just put some random there. So that's not good. And so thank you very much, Ian, for your time. And this is Career Path Tips from a Distinguished Professor with John Curtin Distinguished Professor Ian Phau. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.